diplomats becoming embroiled in politics. The Republican congressman and chair of the House Foreign Relations Committee, Michael McCaul, joins us now to discuss. Chairman McCaul, good to see you. So you say the State Department's summary of the dissent cable, the summary of its official response, and the classified briefing on this document that they did give to your committee were not enough. Why not? What information's missing?
Well, I mean, basically, we got a filtered summary narrative from the State Department as to what they would like to show us were in the cables themselves. And I have to say, Jake, I think I've been very patient, very accommodating. We offered to redact the names of the dissenters to protect them, if that's the Secretary's concerns. In fact, the Secretary and I, get along fairly well. But this is critical. This is not a political stunt on my part. I'm doing this for the veterans and the Gold Star families who are entitled to know, why did 23 members in the embassy dissent from the policy of the administration as to what was going on a month before Afghanistan fell? We've given them 3 extensions of time. We have till tomorrow, that's the deadline. And if he doesn't comply, I'll have no other alternative but to proceed with contempt proceedings. I would prefer not to do that. And, and the way it goes is you have a markup out of committee and you have time on the floor. This would be the first Secretary of State to ever be held in contempt of Congress.
What do you make of the argument that the very process of dissent cables is there so that people can speak candidly without it becoming public, without it becoming a political football?
Well, again, we're willing to protect their identities. We need to know the state of mind at the embassy and the response, quite frankly, of the Secretary of State to the dissenting cables as to, what was actually happening at that time. Why did it go so badly? And so I know there's this institutional argument out there, but they cite a case going back to Henry Kissinger, a dissent cable from an ambassador of Greece at that time who supports our position that the Congress and the American people deserve to know the truth here. There is no executive privilege that he can maintain or assert in this case. And that's why, I've been patient. We hope he'll still comply with this, but we are prepared to move forward if necessary.
I want to ask you about refugees in the United States because there's a bill called H.R. 2, the Secure the Border Act. It's set to be voted on tomorrow. Congressman Gonzalez, your fellow Texan, has been working very hard on it. Now, critics say that this bill effectively would eliminate the process of humanitarian parole, which grants temporary permission to folks to enter the U.S. for urgent humanitarian reasons. You're an original co-sponsor, so I want to get your reaction to what some of the critics of this provision of the bill have to say, including your colleague on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Democrat Joaquin Castro, who said this.
The Afghans who fought alongside the United States and were evacuated from Kabul in August 2021 are largely in the United States through humanitarian parole. If we pass H.R. 2, they would lose the ability to remain in the United States.
I know that you care a great deal about the Afghan allies who did so much for our service members in Afghanistan and the debt that the United States owes them. This bill could hurt them.
You see, and look, I respect my friend from San Antonio who's on the committee. As I point out the Rules Committee, that's just absolutely not right. I mean, we put in H.R. 2 in a provision that says that everyone who's already paroled into the country, that provision would not apply to the Afghans paroled by humanitarian reasons into the country. And we talked about the Ukrainians, as well. Usually paroles on a case-by-case basis. And then you also have political asylum claims, also. So I beg to differ with my colleague. I would do nothing to damage any of the Afghans we got out of that country. And by the way, Jake, we left a lot behind. Not only citizens, but Afghan partners. We left behind the biometric devices that the Taliban's using to hunt them down.
Right.
And I'm having a roundtable with the women of Afghanistan as well.
So just to put a fine point on this, because I know you care deeply about this, do you think it's possible that you, Congressman Gonzalez, Congressman Castro, working with the Senate, can make explicitly clear, regardless of parole or people already in the country, that this would not include our Afghan allies that are still, many of them still over there, many of them in refugee camps that have fled Afghanistan, still trying to get over here to have the better life that the United States military promised them?
100%. You know my position on this. And we promised them we would protect them. Special immigrant visas. They have not gotten out of the country. They're being hunted down by the Taliban with the biometrics we left behind. And we owe them that. And I will do everything to protect them from the Taliban.
All right, sir. Good to see you as always. Thank you so much. The chairman of the House Foreign Relations Committee, Michael McCaul of Texas.